Biomineralization. Biomineralization is also one of the mechanisms employed by bacteria for bioremediation of pollutants like heavy metals or dyes or hydrocarbons. In this mechanism, organisms convert the pollutants into mineral forms, that is, insoluble forms, that can stay in the environment for longer time duration. And as these forms are non toxic, they can persist in the environment without harming the environment. So, this is the process by which living organisms produce minerals, often to create structural features like bones, shells, and teeth. In microbial systems, this biomineralization occurs via two main pathways. The first pathway is biologically controlled mineralization. In this pathway, organisms tightly regulate the process to form specific minerals. For example, magnetotactic bacteria produce magnetite, that is a mineral which involves magnesium. And biologically induced mineralization is the second mechanism where microbial metabolism unintentionally alters the surrounding environment. For example, bacteria can change the pH of the surrounding environment by releasing certain acids or alkalis, or redox potential might be changed by the activities of the organisms. These factors lead to spontaneous formation of minerals. The second type is more relevant to the environment biosorption, where microbes create conditions favorable for metal precipitation, often forming stable compounds like metal carbonates, metal phosphates, or metal sulfides. Biomineralization in biosorption. Biosorption is the process where all different pollutants get adsorbed on the surface of the biomass, including plant biomass or microbial biomass. In microbial biomass, bacteria, fungi, or algae can be used for the process of biosorption, where the pollutants get adhered on the cell surface of these biosorbents due to the functional groups like carboxyl group, hydroxyl group, sulfhydryl group, which are present on the surface. And due to their charged nature, the pollutants get adhered. Biomineralization is one of the mechanisms that involve the process of bioremediation. In the context of biosorption, biomineralization occurs when microbes indirectly facilitate the transformation of toxic metal ions into stable mineral participants. This typically involves metabolic activities that alter the immediate microenvironment. That means when the cells are growing in such polluted areas, they release some factors which change the environment or the conditions of the environment which is in immediate contact with these organisms. For example, urea hydrolysis by bacteria, it releases ammonia, NH3. Due to the release of ammonia, the pH of the surrounding environment increases. This leads to carbonate formation. And if in the surrounding area pollutants like heavy metals are present, then those heavy metals combine with these carbonate moieties to form metal carbonates. Once the metal is in combined form, like metal carbonate or metal sulfide, these metals become unavailable for the environment or ecosystem. They will not get mixed and they cannot show any toxic effects to the environment. Similarly, sulfate reducing bacteria, which are also termed as SRBs, they produce sulfide ions. These sulfide ions precipitate metals like lead or cadmium in the form of metal sulfides. These metal sulfides can persist in the environment for longer time duration without harming the environment. Phosphate solubilizing organisms. These organisms release organic acid. The organic acid mobilize phosphates. That means they bring these phosphate groups into active state, and then these phosphate groups can interact with the metals or other pollutants to form stable phosphate molecules. This transformation not only helps in detoxification of the pollutants, but also it ensures that the pollutant will be sequestered for long term in stable mineral form. Microorganisms involved. Different microorganisms are involved in this process, including bacteria, fungi, which are mainly considered. Bacteria are always the preferred choice because bacteria grow in less time duration. It is easy to modulate the conditions which are required by the bacteria for their growth. And also, some fungi can be used, like aspergillus, for the same process. All these organisms produce the biomass which can be utilized or which can be treated if it is producing any secondary pollutant or secondary sludge. Bacteria are preferred for one more reason, that bacteria can be easily genetically manipulated. Some genetically modified bacteria, including Pseudomonas, are designed such that they can sequester these pollutants or they can act on these pollutants effectively. So, a variety of microorganisms have demonstrated the ability to induce biomineralization during biosorption as their own mechanism, which is also called as wild type. Or some bacteria can be modified genetically for the same purpose. Bacillus subtilis, for instance, is known to hydrolyze urea. This urea release tends to formation of calcium carbonate in the environment containing calcium and carbonate ions. Some sulfate-reducing bacteria, such as D-sulfovibrio species, produce hydrogen sulfide, that is H2S, under anaerobic conditions, which reacts with metal ions to form insoluble metal sulfides that will persist in the environment in non-toxic form. Certain fungi, such as Aspergillus niger, secretes organic acids that solubilize phosphate from minerals, enabling the precipitation of metal phosphate complexes. These organisms not only survive in contaminated environments but also actively participate in detoxifying them through biomineralization. The only condition is we need to maintain the environment that supports the growth and metabolic activity of these bacteria. If the bacteria are metabolically active, they are in their growing state, then the efficiency of the biomineralization process is maximum. Types of biominerals formed. The types of biominerals which are getting formed by the activity of these bacteria and fungi mainly depends on the factors including the microorganisms involved, the available ions in the environment which are to be sequestered, pH of the environment, redox potential, and presence of the complexing agents. The common biominerals which are formed include carbonates, mainly calcium carbonate, zinc carbonate, which are formed under alkaline conditions. It also includes sulfides like cadmium sulfide or lead sulfide, which are formed by sulfate reducing bacteria in anaerobic conditions, and phosphates like uranium phosphate, strontium phosphate, often resulting from phosphate solubilizing microorganisms. As uranium and other radioactive elements can also be treated using these organisms, this is considered as the effective mechanism of biosorption because most of the other factors or other methods cannot be effectively used for removal of radioactive elements. But biomineralization is the process which can use up or which can convert these radioactive elements into less harmful compounds like uranium phosphate. The minerals which are formed due to the process of biomineralization are generally stable. That means they will remain in inert form. They have low stability, they have low solubility. They will not get easily dissolved or mixed with the water or soil. So they cannot mix with the ecosystem, they cannot enter the food chain. And as a result, the effects, toxic effects which are produced by the pollutants will be less, and these minerals can persist in soil or water sediments for long periods, thereby preventing their re-release into the environment. Environmental applications. This technique is being used for the cleanup of the environment. Biomineralization based biosorption is gaining attention in various environmental applications. It is widely used in industrial wastewater treatment where there is requirement of removal of heavy metals such as cadmium, lead, mercury, or there is need of removal of azides. In acid mine drainage, sulfate reducing bacteria are employed to precipitate iron and other metals such as sulfides, neutralizing the pH and reducing the toxicity. In soil bioremediation processes, phosphate releasing bacteria can stabilize metals like uranium that forms insoluble metal phosphates. Furthermore, biomineralization is used in solid waste stabilization where toxic elements in landfill are immobilized. These applications highlight its role as a sustainable and effective component of modern environmental management strategies. This process can be used where chemical and physical processes are not sufficient or they are not cost effective. Biomineralization gives a promising approach to remediate all these heavy metals and toxic pollutants by immobilizing them or making them unavailable for participation in any type of biological or chemical reaction.